Being gay, homosexual. Funny, right? Weird word. What are you, queer? Yup. It's a funny thing, as a kid, wide-eyed with a wonderful world ahead of you, to start wondering if you are somehow similar to these fags and queers that other folks are talking about. Really negatively, obviously, the connotation being that these are hateful things, faggots and queers. Those were the words in my generation. Certainly, there was nothing like there is today, with a broader sense of we humans deserving respect regardless of one's sexual orientation. People didn't even know what orientation was. And I grew up in Middletown, Newport, Rhode Island, where it was a relatively conservative community. My family was relatively religious, and there's not the slightest, and there was not even a minimum acceptance of differences. People who are different are wrong and bad. I took a black girl to my senior prom, and my grandfather disowned me. I don't know what that even means. We had a good relationship, and we got over it after that. I loved my grandfather and grandmother. They were really interesting people, but they had some very, very serious flaws, and those flaws affected other people's lives in negative ways that neither of them, my grandmother or grandfather, would have wanted to be responsible for. They weren't people, like most people aren't, who want others to suffer. But as many times is the case, they weren't self-aware enough of the harm and suffering they did cause, being privileged and white. So being gay in the midst of that environment was a wonderful, interesting challenge for me. I didn't really understand it for a long period of time. In fact, I recall some period of my childhood just being confident that all guys must think this way. All guys must be attracted to the other guys that are in the shower. All guys must really be intrigued by what other guys' penises look like. Are they hairy? Are they big? How are they shaped? Wow, some of them aren't circumcised. Isn't that fascinating? How does an uncircumcised penis work? I thought all guys thought that way. I thought all guys just eventually would get married and do the stuff they needed to do with girls, because that's what you do to have a family. But you'd always be turned on and get an erection when you thought about another guy sexually, right? All you straight guys are looking at me like, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, I figured that out. But it took me a while before I finally realized, oh, wait, other guys don't necessarily think this way. And then, in fact, later years when I was trying to help a very simple-minded father understand my being gay, I was able to use that to help him see what's real. So I pointed out to him, by asking him a question, how his experience in life was very similar to mine. And I said, so Dad, try and think back, just try and calm your mind, don't be defensive, just try and think back to when you decided you didn't want to play with penises, but you really wanted to play with boobs. And he looked at me like I was the weirdest nutcase in the world. Like, what words are coming out of him? I don't know. What the hell are you talking about? I didn't decide I didn't want to play with penises, you nutcase. It's natural to be attracted to breasts and vaginas. That's There was never any of that other stuff. What are you talking about? And it's a very, very simple answer. Exactly, Dad. You never made that decision. You never decided that you didn't want to play with penises. Neither did I decide that I didn't want to play with boobs or vaginas. They simply held no interest. They didn't appear attractive to me. I didn't think about them. They just were parts of the body of a woman. They weren't in my fantasies. They weren't in my mind. Penises were. The way in which a guy's body around his waist has that musculature that goes down to his legs, and those really athletic armpits with nice dark hair, and a really attractive package with a beautiful penis and testicles. I mean, they are it. That means I'm gay. It doesn't mean anything else about me. You don't know anything else about me, what I like, what art is interesting, what is enjoyable, what movies might be great, how I might want to build a career. None of the rest of the things that people start thinking badly about because one is gay are related to his or her being gay. Completely separate issue. But I do have to say, I think from that conversation, which was years after my parents knew I was gay, I think my father started to understand that we are more similar than different, in that sense that we don't choose. Whether environmental or genetic, we are who we are, or a combination of the two. Who knows? I don't even care. I know we don't know yet how one becomes a gay person, but we just do. So for me, being gay was a strange thing to wrap my head around as a young boy. But once I did, relatively early, I was also oddly comfortable with that and not affected by what other people thought. It was easy for me to recognize that it was other people's issues as opposed to mine, and to let them be. I didn't have to be living in angst over what someone else thought about who I was. That was a great, great lesson for me to learn early. So I dated, and I even got engaged to women for different reasons and in different parts of the exploration of who I was. But I always felt what I now know to be gay. I don't know if that is so strongly clear in my life as a result of my having been raped when I was 8. 3 people held me down and stuck chestnuts up my butt. Or molested then again at 10, which was actually a very powerfully positive experience. There was nothing negative that came from the having been molested at 10. The guy who did that to me was gentle and showing me what he did, and I was very, very, very intrigued by his body, which had matured. Mine hadn't at 10 years old. And so I was just fascinated, wondering if my body would look like his or do what his did. And that experience left me wondering and full of ideas about what life might be like and what that would feel like if my body were doing the things that his did. So who knows? Those environmental experiences, and there were more of them. As a kid, I ended up interacting, masturbating with neighbors and in clubs where we had to take our pants off to come in, and just little things that happened in a neighborhood where we were all exploring who we were. But it's a journey. It's a journey for all of us. And I feel really, really lucky that I understood that I had value and that my being gay in no way whatsoever undermined my value as a person. Hey, you! Yeah, you! Watching the video, you thought it was over. No, you got a job to do. Click the like button and subscribe right below. Come on, get on it. Now! And feel free to comment. Go ahead, tell me how arrogant I am. Tell me how much you can't stand this or that. I'll listen. Comment away.